Hello, hello. Tiny here from Oddsock Studio and my very first devlog for our upcoming game, Cruise Tycoon. Now, one of our Discord community members, Prunosis, am I pronouncing that right? I hope so, but please correct me if I'm wrong, and no offense intended. Anyway, Pruinosis asked how the building system is going to work in the game. So let's get into it. Okay, so here we are on the deck of our ship. Now, forgive me, as I say, this is just our wireframe prototype that we use for development. It looks very ugly, and it's got to come with a caveat that the whole UI here is subject to change. We've built this UI purely for testing. It's absolutely not representative of what the final game user interface or GUI is actually going to look like. And of course, neither is the ship. But this rectangle here in the center of the display represents the deck of the ship. And we've got a deck switcher which allows us to go up and down and move around the decks of the ship really smoothly. The camera can move around, zoom in and zoom out, and it can indeed pan around the ship nice and smoothly. It will do this in game so that you have a smooth experience. And of course, the horizon is going to look pretty. You're going to have the sea, and the ship is going to look like a cruise ship rather than, well, like a load of wires at the moment. So the building system itself is heavily inspired by some of our favorite systems that are designed to be really intuitive, easy, very flexible to you as a player, and just fun to use. So it all starts with rooms. We have a rooms list here. And again, just forgive the design. We've just used this really quickly. Um, this is all going to improve. And we've got a rooms list. This allows you to choose which room you want to build aboard the ship. You can get a flavor of some of the rooms that we're developing at the moment to test with. And this rooms list is definitely not exhaustive. There are going to be many, many more rooms. We've planned lots and lots of exciting rooms, everything you can imagine from a small river cruiser all the way up to something like Oasis of the Seas and Royal Caribbean International's world's largest cruise ships. Everything you can think of, basically, ships are floating cities. So you're going to have lots and lots of choice when it comes to building rooms and keeping your cruise passengers happy. Um, but basically, let's build a room. Let's start with something like I don't know, let's start with a bathroom, for example. You click on the room you're going to build. You'll then be able to pick a particular tile to start laying out the footprint. So immediately you might notice the system is different to something like the classic Carnival Cruise Line Tycoon game, where all rooms were basically prefabricated, and once you clicked on a room, you would just simply put the room down, and it would build, and you wouldn't have much control over that room. Well, we're going to give you lots and lots of creative freedom, so you can choose where to lay your room out. Choose the size, for example, and then let me close this window. You can see the room comes up from the deck and goes into a furnishing phase. So here in this furnishing phase, we've got some required items and some optional items that you can place in the room. And every room has a prestige level. So to build the room, we have to put the required items in. And again, this list of items is definitely going to improve and change significantly, not just in look, but in the actual furnishing items available. You're going to have a huge, huge choice here. Um, but let's place a toilet cubicle, for example, and this room in particular needs at least two of those. And again, it's just wireframe showing you where those are going to be at the moment, but these are going to obviously look like toilet cubicles in the future. Can then place a sink somewhere like that. And finally, we have to place a door. Let's put the door over here, and we can then open the room. And at this point, the room will come into service, and guests and potentially staff will be able to use it. Um, One thing that's quite different here with a cruise ship is the crew bathroom will be different to the passenger bathroom because crew and guests don't share many or most facilities on board cruise ships. So you'll have to take care of building all of the facilities that passengers require to stay happy, but also all of the facilities to keep your crew healthy and happy. and space is going to be a bit of a challenge. So you're going to have to get really creative and careful about how you lay out your ship, the size of your rooms, and which decks you decide to build things on for optimum routing for both passengers and crew around the ship. The next room that's probably worth talking about is something like the passenger cabin. Now, the passenger cabin is interesting because it's going to give you a lot of creative freedom when it comes to offering your cruise passengers where they sleep aboard the ship and rest facilities. To keep things nice and easy, we've decided to go for just a single cabin starter. So you can see the price here is from 2100, and that's the absolute minimum price that it takes to build the most basic single passenger cabin and offer one of your passengers somewhere for the night. But of course, we can go all the way up to deluxe suites. Um, and the way we've decided to do that is to offer you, the player, a really simple way to build passenger cabins. So as you go, you can click on the cabin, you can drag out a floor area. Let's do a 3x3, for example. The cabin will start to build. And if I scroll up here, you can see that it has a prestige of 1. It's got 1 prestige star or prestige diamond at the moment. It's a standard cabin. If I demolish this and build a larger one, let's go with like a 4x4, for example, you can see that because it's larger, it's a standard suite this time, and the prestige is still 1. Now, the only required item is a door in the menu, but actually we also need some beds. So the way the system will work is if you place like one single bed, for example, you can see we've got a standard single suite here. If you place another bed, we've now got a premium twin suite because the prestige has gone up, so it's become a premium, and the beds have gone up, so it's now a twin. If we also then place a double bed in, and of course there's no room for the poor passengers to get into bed here, so this is a terribly laid out and rather small example, but what we've now got is a premium family suite because we've got a double bed and 2 singles. So if you were to open this room and offer it, because it's higher prestige, when it comes to setting your prices, and again, forgive the ugly menus here, but you'll be able to set higher prices for premium and deluxe rooms, and many of your passengers will be looking for those enhanced facilities. So you will need to offer them if you're going to attract the maximum number of guests on any cruise, make the most revenue, and make the most tips from those guests. So plenty of choice when it comes to building, but essentially that's the building system in a nutshell. If you wanted to demolish a room, for example, you could click on it, um, delete the room like so, and build something else in its place. Something else maybe worth mentioning when it comes to building is you'll have the ability to build stairwells, for example. Let's drag out a stairwell here, and if we open that up, you can see now that if we jump up to deck 2, the stairwell is built, and that offers your passengers the ability to move up and down between the decks. Of course, it looks terrible at the moment. This is all going to look much prettier when we've done our art pass, and our artists are working extremely hard on this right now, cooking up some magic, and I can't wait to show you in an upcoming video some of our first art, which is very likely to initially be our NPC characters. Now, of course, where you build rooms is also going to be really important. You can see this, this blue area here, for example, is marked out because we're on the lower deck here, and this is where you're going to have to build the engine room to power the ship. On upper decks, you'll have to build rooms like a bridge in order to command the ship from, and some rooms will be restricted. For example, if you wanted to build something like a swimming pool, it would have to go on the upper deck exterior of the ship. One other thing it probably is worth mentioning now is that some other games only allow you to build aboard your ship when the ship is docked or in port. Now, that's something that we didn't like. I particularly didn't like that myself, and I thought it would be nice to allow you, the player, to build while the ship is traveling at sea. so that you can build without limitations as and when you feel the need to increase or decrease your facilities. So the way this will basically work is if you decide to build cabins while you're at sea, you'll be able to build your passenger cabins to your heart's content while the ship is moving. Um, but if you expand your ship, let's say you build another 10 cabins. Oh, that's not going to fit. Let's just open the room. If you build another 10 cabins, you'll only receive the next 10 guests when the ship does go back to port. So that's a whistle stop tour of our building system. It's coming on nicely, but I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on it. Any recommendations to improve? Anything you particularly don't like so far? Anything you'd like to see done differently? Do let us know. I'd be incredibly grateful for the feedback. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next one.